The 96 of Eddie Humphrey III. To his outside of the 95, Machinist Skylar Corella. On the inside of row number 2, winning 3 in a row. In the 74, Machinist Joe Rogers Jr. To his outside, the 1D of David Wolford Jr. The inside of row number 3, the 75 of Joseph Gocher. And the 44 DD of Arthur Gann. Gann supposed to start outside of row number 3. Believe the 44 machine of Arthur Gann had some mechanical issues. It looks like he's going to miss the heat race. So on the point, Eddie Humphrey III from Torrance, California. That's that blue and white number 96 Olympia beer on the side of that machine for Eddie Humphrey III. To his outside, Skylar Corella in the 95. Looks like Skylar electing to start in the rear of the field. The 1D of David Wolford, he'll be outside front row. On the inside, Joe Rogers Jr. on the inside of row number 2. Once again, he has picked up 3 A main events in a row. And that 74 machine all the way from Redondo Beach, California. Makes his way up north here to the Bakersfield Speedway each and every week for the mini stocks. He's so far your current point leader. Out front by quite a bit is that 74 of Joe Rogers Jr. in the point standings. Currently sitting with 314 points. That's 112 better than the 32X of Jason Cook. Brandon Wolford rounding out your top 3 in points. I believe Joe Rogers Jr., he is the only competitor that has made each and every race so far for the 2022 racing season. Green flag is in the air, and here we go with heat race number 1. Around the outside goes the 1D of David Wolford Jr. down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. 3 wide going into turn number 3. Joseph Gocher on the outside. All kinds of sideways for the 75. Contact made with the 96 down off of turn number 4. Gocher got up into the slick stuff in 3 and 4. Contact made once again with the 96 and the 75. Eddie Humphrey and Joseph Gocher going back and forth off of turn number 2. Gocher gets on the binders, lets loose of the 96 and resets. Now here comes the pressure once again going down into turns 1 and 2. Gocher on the bottom side. Humphrey to his outside. Out front it is all the 1D of David Wolford Jr. David Wolford Jr. picked up the win on night number 1. He is the only other competitor to have picked up a victory here in 2022 in the mini stock division. He looks to do it again. Very fast in heat race number 1 is the 1D of David Wolford Jr. In the number 2 spot is Joe Rogers Jr., the 75 of Gocher, rounding out your top 3. Then the 96 of Eddie Humphrey III and Skylar Corella rounding out your top 5. Just past the halfway point, we'll be coming to lap number 5. This time by for the 1D of David Wolford Jr. Last time by 17.725. He backs it up with a 17.686 as we're getting a puff of smoke out of the backside of the 74 of Joe Rogers Jr. The difference is 1.804 seconds from David Wolford to Joe Rogers Jr. Then he's 3.07 back to Joe Gocher. So no big competition out on the racing surface right now. They're all stretched out nice and wide. 6 laps down, we'll get the white flag. That's time by for the 1D of David Wolford. David Wolford Jr. picks up the white flag. He's 4 corners away from picking up the heat race win here on the opening heat race of the night. On a beautiful 86 degrees here in Bakersfield, California. Unheard of here in June. But we'll take it. 86 degrees. It's sunny and beautiful here in Bakersfield, California. Checkered flag flies in the air for the 1D of David Wolford Jr. He picks up the heat race win. Joe Rogers Jr. comes home in the number 2 spot. Joe Gocher rounding out your top 3. Eddie Humphrey in the 96, 4th, and rounding out the top 5, Skylar Corella in the 95. Corella's quick off the track exit over there in turn number 1. So give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for the 1D. David Wolford Jr. picks up the heat race win. Now next up for heat race number 2, on the point in the 75W, it's Brandon Wolford. To his outside from Porterville, the 32X of Jason Cook. The 86 of Liam Myers on the inside of row number 2. To his outside, the 26X of Jason Cook Jr. Inside of row number 3, it's Patrick Kelly in the 27 from Clovis, California. And rounding out the field from Visalia, the 9 of Gene Glover. 6 cars, 8 laps the distance. Once again, 8 laps in duration for each and every of our heat races here tonight. So Brandon Wolford Jr., Jason Cook from Porterville. That's your front row. Liam Myers, Jason Cook Jr., Patrick Kelly, and Gene Glover. Lineup looks good. We're showing them 1 to go this time off of turn number 4. Lights are going out. We're going green flag racing next time off of turn number 4. You see that cone right there in turn number 4? That's where the drivers need to be side by side right to that cone. If they are not in side-by-side manner, we will not go green. We'll get them reset. They'll have a chance to do it once again. If they don't get it right a second time, the front row will be penalized. So nice, slow pace down the back straightaway with Brandon Wolford from Oildale, California in the 75W. He's on the point. He was your 2021 Trek champion. Looking for his first win of the 2022 racing season. Very slow into turn number 3 underneath the current asphalt sign. And just as I said that, our flagman Randy Schweitzer didn't like what he saw coming off of turn number 4. A little too early for the 75W of Brandon Wolford. So the lights are out. They're still in formation. So we got them reset. Lights are out. We're going to try it once again off of turn number 4. Brandon Wolford and Jason Cook from Porterville. Your front row, Jason Cook Jr. Outside second row, the 26X machine. Those are 2 very fast race cars here in heat race number 2. We got a lot of quick ones in this one. Gene Glover all the way on the outside of row number 3. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. Jason Cook around the outside off of turn number 2. He'll have the RPM run down the back straightaway. He'll lead them into 3 and 4. Jason Cook, Brandon Wolford, Jason Cook Jr., Liam Myers. Now here comes Gene Glover taking a peek around the outside off of turn number 4. The 32X, Jason Cook from Porterville, California, already has a sizable lead over the 75W of Brandon Wolford. Jason Cook Jr. in the 26X running out your top 3. Then we got a 3-car battle from the 27 now of Patrick Kelly from Clovis side by side with Gene Glover. It's Glover by a nose. Liam Myers in the 86 rounding out the field. So Jason Cook clicked off a 17.591 that last time by Brandon Wolford, just 1.3 seconds back, 1.3 back from Wolford is Jason Cook Jr. Best battle on the track is between, looks like problems for Gene Glover as he's weaving down the back straightaway. So Glover looks like he's chasing the wheel just a bit on that number 9 machine down to the bottom side of turns 1 and 2. Five laps down, 3 laps remaining here in heat race number 2 for the mini stocks. Out front, Jason Cook, Brandon Wolford, Jason Cook Jr., Gene Glover rounding out the top 4. Here comes a side-by-side battle for 5th. Here comes Liam Myers to the inside of Patrick Kelly. That's the best battle on the track down the back straightaway. They're side-by-side into turn number 3. Liam Myers backs out of it. And around goes Liam Myers. Can he hold on to it? He just does. Well, he hit the tractor tire. He gets on the binders. He's able to stay off that tire. We stay green. White flag in the air this time by for Jason Cook in the 32X. Looks to pick up the heat race win, or heat race number 2 for the mini stocks. Brandon Wolford now is backing up just a bit to that 26X of Jason Cook Jr., but it looks like he might be running out of time. He's in our final set of corners off of turn number 4. Checker flag will be in the air for the 32X. Jason Cook picks up the heat race win over Brandon Wolford, Jason Cook Jr., and Gene Glover. So Jason Cook picks up the win. Brandon Wolford, Jason Cook Jr., Gene Glover, Patrick Kelly, and Liam Myers rounding out the field for heat race number 2 for the mini stock division. Coming up next is going to be our first heat race for the Okie Bowl Hardtops. The division on the point from Tehachapi, California, the 102 of Skip Spiller. To his outside, our most recent winner in the number 7, it's Rich Souza. Inside of row number 2, the 00 of Jason Dinman. And to his outside, from Tehachapi, the 68 of Tom Summerfield. So 4 cars, 8 laps the distance once again for heat race number 1 for the Okie Bowl Hardtops. Picking up the win just 2 weeks ago, Rich Souza from Tehachapi, California, sits on the outside of row number 1. Skip Spiller, second time in the division here at the Bakersfield Speedway. Former mini stock driver. Skip Spiller in the 102. Randy Schweitzer up in the birdcage for us here tonight, showing a 1 to go this time by. Nice tight formation from the blast from the past. The Okie Bowl Hardtops here at the Bakersfield Speedway. Skip Spiller, Rich Souza, Jason Denman, Tom Summerfield. Nice and slow down the back straightaway underneath the Holders Mechanical Incorporated sign. Jimmy Irwin pointing at the cone right here off of turn number 4. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. Skip Spiller leads him down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Denman all over his backside. Denman gets around underneath Skip Spiller, but out front it's the number 7 of Rich Souza. Souza down on the bottom side of turns 3 and 4. He'll come around and lead lap number 1 of the P-Dubs 7. Denman in the number 2 spot, Skip Spiller, and then you pick up the 68 of Tom Summerfield. Off of turn number 4, it is still Rich Souza out front, but here comes that 0-0 machine of Jason Denman. Jason Denman has picked up a couple of wins here at the Bakersfield Speedway in 2021. I believe this is his debut here in 2022, and he's all over the backside of Rich Souza, our most recent winner. So great battle up front. Here comes Denman now to the inside. He's taking a peek underneath Souza off of turn number 2. Rich Souza battling hard down the back straightaway. It's a drag race into turn number 3. Denman on the bottom, Rich Souza up top. Denman gets that big old paddy wagon, turns sideways, and he picks up the number 1 position here on lap number 4. Denman now marching away as he has a straightaway lead already down the back straightaway for the 0-0 of Jason Denman. Rich Souza in the number 2 spot, the 68 of Summerfield in the top 3, and then you pick up the 102 of Skip Spiller. Denman nice and smooth through the center of turns 1 and 2. Rich Souza now all the way down to the bottom, trying to find his way back up to the 0-0 of Jason Denman. But he'll be running out of time. We'll get the white flag this time off of turn number 4 for your leader as he works down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Jason Denman picks up the white flag 4 corners away from the first heat race win of the night for the Okie Bowl Hardtops. It's Denman down to the bottom side of turns 1 and 2. Brings Rich Souza with him. Souza seems to be gaining ground, but he's running out of time. Down the back straightaway for the final time, Jason Denman. Checkered flag is in the air. We've got a flat right front for Tom Summerfield. Checkered flag in the air. Denman picks up the win over Rich Souza. Tom Summerfield with a flat right front tire makes his way off the racing surface, and finishing in the top 3, it's Skip Spiller in the 102, and that's going to do it for heat race number 1. Coming to the track is heat race number 2 for the Okie Bowl Hardtops. On the point from Oildale, California, the 14X of Tyler Weeks. To his outside from Tehachapi, the 32 machine of Adam Medovich. Inside of row number 2 from Tehachapi, it's the 16 of Travis Mason. And to the outside, it's the Candyman Dave Bauer in the 40. Rounding out your 4-car field for heat race number 2. So if you can hear a bit different in the engine for the 40 machine of Dave Bauer, that is a 6-cylinder. So 6-cylinder for the 40 machine of Dave Bauer. This is his second time out in the Okie Bowl Hardtops. At the end of all of our heat races, so after the end of our final IMCA stock car heat race, the Candyman Dave Bauer, I believe he'll come down to the flag stand and hand out candy and meet some of you kids out there. So if you guys are see the Candyman Dave Bauer down at the flag stand after our final heat race, We'll go down there and have a word with him. He'll be passing out candies to all the kids out there. So lights are out. We're going green flag racing right here off of turn number 4. Tyler Weeks and Adam Medovich. Green flag is in the air. Tyler Weeks down to the bottom side. Here comes the 40 of Bauer taking a peek, making it 3 wide coming off of turn number 2. It's Tyler Weeks on the bottom side. Dave Bauer through the middle on the outsides. The 32 of Adam Medovich. And then you pick up the 16 of Travis Mason. Tight battle coming off of turn number 2. Once again, Dave Bauer taking a peek, trying to find a run down the back straightaway. But Tyler Weeks has big time power going into turn number 3. So Dave Bauer with a significant power disadvantage. You can see that 250 cubic inch on the side of the hood of the number 40 for Dave Bauer, but he's giving it everything it has off of turn number 2 now. Side-by-side battle with the 32 of Adam Medovich. Tyler Weeks in the HPS Mechanical 14X machine out front in the number 1 spot. Good battle going on for second. It's Medovich by a nose over Bauer. Bauer now to the inside. Side-by-side battle coming off of turn number 2. Bauer on the inside, Medovich to his outside, side-by-side off of turn number 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? It's the 32, just by a nose of Adam Medovich. Great battle again off of turn number 2. Medovich gets that good drive down the back straightaway. But out front, straightaway lead, it's the 14X of Travis Weeks from Oildale, California. We're 5 laps down, 3 laps remaining. Dave Bauer switching up his line just a bit in 1 and 2. He has lost some ground now to the 32 of Adam Medovich. And rounding out the field, the 16 of Travis Mason. Tyler Weeks down the back straightaway has about a 10-car advantage over the 32 of Adam Medovich. We'll get the white flag this time off of turn number 4. Tyler Weeks, 4 corners away from picking up the heat race win here on heat race number 2 for the Okie Bowl Hardtops. Weeks down the back straightaway all the way on the bottom side, keeping the left tires in the moisture. Down the bottom side in 3 and 4. Off of turn number 4, Tyler Weeks picks up the heat race win over Adam Medovich, Dave Bauer, and Travis Mason. That's going to do it for heat race number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Tyler Weeks from Oildale, California, picking up the heat race win in the 2022 racing season. J.D. Brown, Hollywood J.D. Brown is actually your new point leader. He's 1 point better than Tim Varney sitting in the number 2 spot. Xander Keelan. Parker Cherry not making it here, but Parker's car's here, that 27 machine, but behind the wheel of that's Candy Varney here tonight. Lights are out. Going green flag racing right here off of turn number 4. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. Trying to make moves early is the 9 of Riley Klim. He'll split the 19 and the 9 to turns 1 and 2. But out front, here comes Hollywood J.D. Brown down to the bottom side in 3 and 4. J.D. Brown slamming the door on Xander Keelan. He'll lead lap number 1. Keelan, the number 2 spot. Tim Varney and the 9 of Riley Klim. Problems for the 19W of Cole Wackham. We stay green, side-by-side battle between Tim Varney and the 9 of Riley Klim. Klim gets good drive off of turn number 2 now, working the backside of Xander Keelan. Searching high and low is Riley Klim in the Elite Automotive number 9 machine, trying to find a way around the Harrison Street Automotive number 19 of Xander Keelan. Keelan battling hard through the middle of 1 and 2. Here comes Klim on the outside, side-by-side into turn number 3. Keelan now with a bit of a slip up. Here comes Tim Varney to his inside. It's J.D. Brown, Riley Klim, Xander Keelan, Tim Varney, and Connor Wackham rounding out your top 5. Problems for the 17 of Varney. A slip up from Varney. Now he'll fall back to the 5th position. 5 laps in for J.D. Brown. Hollywood has a 1.7 second advantage over Riley Klim. fairly spaced out throughout the field. Hollywood J.D. Brown looking to go back-to-back wins here in his home track in Bakersfield, California. Right through the center, turns 1 and 2. Rockets right down the back straightaway. Nice and smooth. Hitting his marks is the 14 of Hollywood J.D. Brown. White flag in the air. One more time around for the 14 of J.D. Brown. Riley Clem, Xander Keelan, Connor Wackham, Tim Varney, Candy Varney, and Cole Wackham. Sitting down on the infield off of turn number 4 for the final time. Hollywood J.D. Brown picks up the heat race win. Riley Clem, the number 2 spot. Xander Keelan just by a nose over the 9W of Connor Wackham. Tim Varney and Candy Varney rounding out your top 6. That is going to do it for our heat race for the IMCA Mod Light Division here tonight. J.D. Brown picking up right where we left off, picking up the heat race win. Riley Clem in the number 2 spot. He'll go back to work on that sideways design Elite Automotive number 9. Xander Keelan, great showing from that young man. Had a hard-fought battle between him and Riley Clem. Comes home in the number 3 spot. Connor Wackham in the 9W, rounding out your top 4. Tim Varney, Candy Varney, and Cole Wackham rounding out the field. So that's going to take us right into our first heat race for the IMCA stock cars. 2 heat races here tonight. 6 cars apiece, 8 laps the distance for the IMCA stock cars. So after the stock car heat races, we'll take a brief break, do some track prep, get right to our first A main event of the night. We'll get into a mini stock A main, and then we'll have a dash for the IMCA stock cars. And then finish the night out with our last 3 A main events. The last race of the night will be the IMCA stock car 25-lap feature. So IMCA stock car heat race number 1 making their way to the grid from Newhall, California, the 00H of Eric Hamilton. To his outside, the 4 machine, Terry Henry's race prep entry, it's Justin Schweitzer. Inside of row number 2 from Merced, California, the C29 of Garrett Korn. To his outside, our most recent winner in the 158, it's Dakota Schweitzer. Inside of row number 3, the 10T of Larry Thompson from Tulare, California. And to his outside, rounding out the field from Taft, California, the 2B of Dan Bryant. 6 cars, 8 laps the distance once again. Lineup is good. We should be showing them one to go this time off of turn number 4. So Eric Hamilton, your top qualifier, sitting on the point right here for heat race number 1 for the IMCA stock cars. Beautiful looking 00H machine from Newhall, California. Hanford Towing sponsorship on the right rear quarter panel for the 00H of Eric Hamilton. So finishing on the tech pad each and every time for the IMCA stock cars. To his outside, Justin Schweitzer, looking to pick up his first win here in 2022 for the IMCA stock car division. Steven Johnson, your current point leader, he'll be in heat race number 2. Justin Schweitzer is sitting in the top 2 in points. Side by side right here off of turn number 4. Green flags in the air, and here we go. Randy Schweitzer did not like what he saw over there coming off of turn number 4. So a little bit too early for the 00H of Hamilton. So we'll get him reset and try it once again. On the point, the 00 Hamilton. Justin Schweitzer to his outside, Garrett Korn, Dakota Schweitzer, Larry Thompson Jr., the 10T machine, and the 2B of Dan Bryant. So a lot of good-looking race cars here in this one. My favorite might have to be that 2B of Dan Bryant. That is a beautiful-looking race car from Taft, California. Lights are out, green flag flying, this time off of turn number 4. Nudge your neighbor, make that friendly wager. Who's going to pick up the heat race win here on heat race number 1 of the IMCA stock car division? 8 laps away from picking up the victory. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. Much better start this time for the 00 of Hamilton and the 4 of Justin Schweitzer. Schweitzer around the outside. Will he have the RPM run? There's a drag race down the back straightaway. It's Schweitzer by a nose into turn number 3. Down to the bottom side. Here comes Hamilton. A slider right across the nose of Justin Schweitzer. Garrett Korn's going to make it 3-car battle at the stripe. Schweitzer Slider on Hamilton. Hamilton gets on the binders. He'll drop back 2 spots down the back straightaway. Now here gets Garrett Korn in the number 2 spot. Schweitzer, Korn, side by side for third is the 158 of Dakota Schweitzer. Now Schweitzer in your top 3. Dakota Schweitzer all the way down to the bottom side. All the way up on the top is Justin Schweitzer in the 4. Now Garrett Korn right through the middle. Hamilton all kinds of sideways, able to hold on just by a hair is the 0-0 of Hamilton. Now here comes Garrett Korn. He's all over the backside of the 4 of Justin Schweitzer in 3 and 4. He runs it a little too deep into 3 and 4, floats up the hill now. Schweitzer has a little bit of room. It's only 0.5 second advantage over the C29 of Garrett Korn. Dakota Schweitzer now getting some company in the 0-0 of Eric Hamilton. Dan Bryant, Larry Thompson Jr. rounding out the field, coming to lap number 5 this time by. 5 laps down, 3 laps remaining for the Terry Henry's race prep entry of Justin Schweitzer. Now Dakota Schweitzer, the only car working the bottom. He decides to move up in turns 3 and 4. Justin Schweitzer, Garrett Korn, Eric Hamilton, Dakota Schweitzer, Dan Bryant, and Larry Thompson Jr. Here comes Bryant now taking a peek to the inside of Dakota Schweitzer down the back straightaway. White flag in the air one more time around for the 4 machine of Justin Schweitzer. Schweitzer looking to get it done here in heat race number 1 for the IMCA stock car division. Down the back straightaway has a 0.97 second advantage over Garrett Korn. For the final time off of turn number 4, Terry Henry's race prep number 4, Justin Schweitzer picks up the heat race win over Garrett Korn, Eric Hamilton, Dakota Schweitzer, Dan Bryant, and Larry Thompson Jr. So that's going to do it for our first heat race for the IMCA stock cars. Justin Schweitzer getting it done from the front row. Garrett Korn in the number 2 spot, Eric Hamilton, Dakota Schweitzer, Dan Bryant, Larry Thompson Jr. So you'll see Justin Schweitzer make his way down to the infield. You see Jimmy Irwin down there. He'll do a post-race check. That's for IMCA rule. Make sure everything is A-OK with a real quick post-race tech for 8 laps of heat race action here in heat race number 2 for the IMCA stock cars. So we are loaded down with Johnson family in this one. Chad Johnson, Steven Johnson, Nicholas, and Cody. So your current point leader is that 26S of Steven Johnson on the outside of row number 1. Great to see Roger Holder back out here behind the wheel of a dirt car. That beautiful number 24 Holder's heating and air conditioning machine. Lights are out. We're going green flag racing. Next time off of turn number 4. Chad Johnson, Steven Johnson, your front row. Nicholas Johnson, Roger Holder, Cody Johnson, and Matt McEwen. Nice tight formation down the max straightaway there, family, but they are racers at heart. We'll see who's going to pick up the heat race win here in heat race number 2 for the IMCA stock cars. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. Steven Johnson has an edge over the 111 of Chad Johnson. They're going to drag race down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Side-by-side battle all the way through the field. Who's going to lead lap number 1? It's Steven Johnson just by a nose over Chad Johnson. Nicholas Johnson scored in the number 3 spot over the 24 of Roger Holder. Now Roger Holder getting great drive off of turn number 2. Roger Holder right through the middle trying to get in between the Johnsons. It's going to be Chad Johnson that time by just by a nose. Now going down to the bottom side, Roger Holder. Just underneath him is the one in of Nicholas Johnson. So Chad Johnson working the bottom, great off of turn number 4. He'll lead lap number 3. He'll bring the 24 of Roger Holder with him. Kind of strung out on the outside is the 26S of Steven Johnson, but now here comes Roger Holder, a bit tight coming off of turn number 2. Rockets down the back straightaway into 3 and 4. Roger Holder through the middle, trying to make that work off of turn number 4. Dedicated to the bottom, though, is that 111 of Chad Johnson. He'll lead him at the halfway point. Roger Holder inching his way forward around the outside. Chad Johnson working off of 4, but here comes the 24 of Roger Holder. The West Coast Wildman now around the outside in turn number 2. Can he get the drive? Can he get clear of the 111? He does, down the back straightaway. Now Holder floats up off of turn number 4, gets the right rear in the good stuff. It's going to be Holder that time by. 6 laps down, we'll get the white flag next time by. New leader Roger Holder. He much better in turns 1 and 2. Chad's a little bit better here in 3 and 4. But overall, looks like Roger Holder is 4 corners away from picking up his first heat race in his debut here in 2022 in the IMCA Stock Car. Nice. Off of turn number 2 is for the 24 of Roger Holder. Holder through the center of 3 and 4 for the final time. Checkered flag in the air. The West Coast Wildman Roger Holder picks up the heat race win over the 111 Chad Johnson, Nicholas Johnson, Steven Johnson, Cody Johnson, and Matt McEwen. So the West Coast Wildman gets it done. Roger Holder here in heat race number 2. Once again, his debut in 2022, and that's the way to kick it off right there with a heat race win for Roger Holder. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for all of our heat races here tonight. We're going to get right back in and do some track prep, put some water back on the racing surface, and then we'll get right back out with our first A main event of the night. We're going to kick it off with the Mini Stock 20-lap A feature. Then we're going to have a Dash for Cash for the IMCA Stock Cars. Then we'll get right back into A feature action with hardtops, mod lights, and rounding it out with the IMCA Stock Cars.